Coming up, it's a fight to the finish. Bonanza versus Cessna 210.
Flying Christmas trees, flying cows, and flying into the Utah backcountry.
AOPA Live this week begins in just a moment.
The dream is real, a truly affordable personal jet aircraft. The Subsonics kit is priced at only $42,000. Kit plus engine is still under $100K. Add instruments, upholstery, and paint and you're flying at SonicsAircraft.com.
This is AOPA Live This Week with Tom Haynes and Melissa Rudinger.
Hello and happy Thanksgiving. We hope your flight or drive over the river and through the woods was safe and uneventful.
Holiday travel this week is predicted to hit record levels on the ground and in the air. And that means the world's largest and best air traffic control system will be handling a huge volume of aircraft, many connecting smaller communities with the rest of the country. And it's those communities which are the heart of America that could be threatened by the proposed giveaway of the air traffic control system to an unaccountable monopoly dominated by the airlines. In our latest op-ed published in the Washington Examiner, AOPA's Mark Baker and Ed Bolin of the National Business Aviation Association write that if the airlines run the nation's aviation system, there's good reason to worry that small communities across America will be left behind. H.R. 2997, the proposed legislation to privatize ATC, would increase the federal deficit by $100 billion, according to the Congressional Budget Office, and slow down air traffic modernization, according to the GAO. Baker and Bolin conclude that if the airlines win control of ATC, the rest of America will be the loser. And so, Melissa, while we haven't heard a lot about this bill in the last couple of weeks, there's plenty to come as Congress fires back up after the first of the year, right?
That's absolutely right, Tom. For now, taxes are the focus of Congress, but the Transportation Committee Chairman Bill Schuster is still cruising the halls of Congress trying to gin up support for the bill.
Of course he is, yep.
And that's why we all need to stay engaged. Many of your Congress people are home right now, so it's a good time to call your local office or attend a meeting and let them know you're opposed to H.R. 2997 and ATC privatization. You can also contact them through our website. Just click on the blue tab in the upper left-hand corner. Even if you've told them before, it doesn't hurt to keep reminding them.
An update on that Icon A5 accident that killed Major League pitcher Roy Halladay. The NTSB this week released the preliminary accident report. Thanks to the data recorder on the A5, the NTSB determined the aircraft at times was flying 11 feet above the water. The last recorded data point shows the aircraft at 200 feet doing 87 knots. According to the NTSB, video then shows the A5 in a 45-degree bank and maneuvering about 10 feet above the water. A witness told investigators he saw the airplane climb, then turn and descend at a 45-degree nose-down angle and then hit the water.
But some good news from the NTSB. The number of fatal general aviation accidents decreased last year, making the fatal GA accident rate the lowest it's been in 50 years. Less than one fatal accident per 100,000 flight hours. There was a slight increase, just under 2%, in the overall accident rate. It's interesting, though, to compare general aviation with other modes of transportation. Overall, there were more than 2,000 more transportation-related deaths last year than in 2015. 95% of all fatalities were on the highways.
So as you look at the numbers, GA is a pretty safe way to go, and it's frequently a spectacular way to travel. As you saw last week, I was out in the Canyonlands area of Utah. We were basing in Moab to put the Quest Kodiak through its paces. It's all part of an upcoming destination story we're working on, but we couldn't make you wait that long for a taste of the action. We take off from Canyonlands Field near Moab as a flight of 2 Kodiaks. Local flight seeing operator Redtail Air Adventures has several of the capable Quests on the line. They not only host us at the airport, but agree to show us around their backyard. Quest pilot Mark Brown and I are on one airplane with 2 AOPA journalists. At other times, we have 6 people in gear on board the capable Kodiak. Regardless, it has no problem going into something like a 2,000-foot Mineral Canyon airstrip just outside Canyonlands National Park. We buzz around the canyons, careful to stay out of the park itself, but we wanted to test the STOL capabilities of the Kodiak, and above those dramatic canyons, the salt flats provide the perfect opportunity.
And the great thing about a Kodiak is you don't really even need a runway, especially on a windy day like this. You can land on a dry lake bed and stop almost instantly. Works great.
The highlight of the trip has got to be the air-to-air mission down in the canyons. Beautiful conditions on Saturday morning allowed some breathtaking shots. You're seeing behind the scenes of the shoot. We'll show you the finished product as part of our March 2018 Destinations edition of AOPA Pilot Magazine. You can see more of the behind-the-scenes content on our social media pages. And what a great time that was, I got to say. Very impressed by the Kodiak. My first time flying it, and it is quite a capable machine.
Looks like a great time, and I think it'll be a great magazine issue in March, so
yeah,
stay tuned.
We'll be talking a lot about interesting places to fly.
Coming up after the break, reindeer aren't the only seasonal things to fly.
And the great fly-off between the hefty six-seaters. Stay tuned. You're watching AOPA Live this week.
Did you know it's now fully legal to fly your plane to Cuba? Call the experts at Cuba Handling and we'll walk you through the process. Our team will make your flight simple and will create the experience of a lifetime. From hotels to cultural experiences, we do it all. Visit CubaHandling.com.
Welcome back. Cold weather is settling in. Maybe it hasn't hit you yet, but soon you might be thinking about flying to someplace a little warmer.
And we have just the thing for you, our newly redesigned and updated AOPA Pilot Guides, Bahamas and Caribbean's editions. On sale now in the AOPA store, a great gift for the pilot in your life or perhaps for yourself. These guides have been the trusted source of flight information for the islands for more than 35 years. And joining us now is Jurka Morosic to talk about the books. And Jurka, what kind of information can pilots expect to find in them?
Well, first and foremost, pilots can get the basic information about flying into Bahamas and the Caribbean. Clearly, to get there, first thing you need is the information about the airports. And there's plenty of it in both of the books for Caribbean and for Bahamas. But almost more importantly, there's a lot of content in there about why to go, where to go, what each of the islands has to offer, the unique culture on the islands, beautiful photography. It hopefully should inspire a lot of pilots to take the trip because I think a lot of us don't realize how easy it is. For any, you're in a club, you're in a co-ownership, or you are lucky enough to have your own airplane. Maybe one of those Kodiaks and floats would be kind of a perfect for that trip.
That would be great.
That would work. I'll take one of those. And really get people out there flying into the islands.
Yeah, great.
So, and I understand these guys are part of a larger initiative. Can you tell us about that?
Well, absolutely. So, islands, of course, are a beautiful place to fly, especially as it gets a little colder up here, further north. But really what we found and what we are hearing day in, day out from pilots is that I get my ticket, I get my airplane, I join my club, and what do I do now? I'm a perfect example of that. I moved into Washington, D.C., and it took me 2 years to find the nearest grass strip. I like grass strips. Now, what we are doing at AOPA now is, as a part of our plan to inspire more travel and using airplanes for anything that we can use them for, the guides are just a little piece of it. We want to inspire people to fly and take their airplanes into all the airports that North America and especially U.S. has to offer. So you'll be seeing a lot more from us, from articles to videos to a lot of tools that will be coming up. And I don't want to release too much, but in the first and second quarter of next year, more tools and ideas and the really things that pilots can use on AOPA.org and on our mobile apps on how they can explore really the world around them through airports and get more inspired when they get that ticket, when they join that club, when they get access to that airplane. So it doesn't end there. So they're not just flying for pancakes, and I do love pancakes, but they are also get a lot of ideas about where to take their family, et cetera, et cetera.
Thanks, Jurka. The island guides are $39.95 each. The unique aeronautical charts are $12.95. The Bahamas and Caribbean guidebooks are also available as an app on iTunes.
A couple of aviation milestones to tell you about. Mooney has just delivered the first Ovation Ultra to a customer. The FAA certificated the aircraft in March. Both the normally aspirated Ovation Ultra and the turbocharged Acclaim Ultra feature new interiors and a pilot side door. Meanwhile, Garmin celebrated delivery of its 1 millionth certified avionics product this week, a GTX 3000 Mode S transponder. Garmin has been in the business over 28 years now.
That's hard to believe, I got to tell you. I remember when Garmin started, they were in a little low-rise office complex outside of Lenexa, Kansas, and now they are the tallest building by far in Olathe, Kansas. And it's an amazing company, what they've done over just a relatively brief period of time.
Yes, even outside of aviation, they're even bigger
That's
than
right,
inside.
from consumer products as well. Well, lots of kids and probably adults too will be getting new drones this Christmas. And guess what? They're going to have to register them with the FAA. Any flying machine weighing more than 5.5 pounds and less than 55 pounds has to be registered online with the agency. A court had overturned that regulation earlier, so Congress made it law as part of the National Defense Authorization Act.
And the FAA has just granted AT&T an exemption to fly a cow. That's a cell on wings, and the tethered helicopter drone is flying above Puerto Rico, restoring some cell phone service to residents. It's the first time an LTE cell site on a drone has been successfully deployed to connect people after a disaster. They need an exemption from the FAA because the drone weighs more than 55 pounds. A flying cow.
Who knew? Bringing relief to Puerto Rico from a flying cow.
Right, and so now, Tom, I have another question for you.
Uh-oh. Which
Which is better, a Bonanza, and I think I know the answer, a Bonanza or a 210?
Well, you know what the answer is going to be for me as a Bonanza owner, of course. In my opinion, it's got to be the Bonanza, right? But that question certainly could generate heated discussion around the hangar or in a pilot bar, perhaps. So we decided to find out. And being no fool, I put the burden of proof on AOPA pilot editor-at-large Dave Hirschman.
These are the titans of the general aviation fleet, and they've always been rivals. The Bonanza A36 and Cessna 210 Centurion are classy six-seaters coveted for their speed, range, and versatility, and their pilots and owners are fanatics. These two airplanes are owned by a San Diego flying club, and they're among the very best of their breed. Both have been updated and modernized, and both are powered by big Continental IO550 engines. The Bonanza came that way. The Centurion got a true Atlantic engine upgrade and a new Garmin panel. So let's put the talking aside and see how these classy birds stack up in a head-to-head fly-off. We'll start with an old-fashioned drag race. From a standing start, the two airplanes go to full throttle to see which one gets off the ground first. The Centurion wins this contest by a couple of airplane lengths. Next, a short field landing contest. With full flaps, the Centurion has a lower approach speed and a shorter landing roll. It's the clear winner. Flying side by side in a clean configuration with the flaps and landing gear up, both airplanes are at critically low air speeds, but the Bonanza stalls first, while the Centurion is still flying. Okay, let's do the same thing dirty with the flaps and landing gear down. Once again, the Bonanza stalls first. Advantage Centurion. Finally, a flat-out speed dash. The airplanes are flying side by side at 8,000 feet, and they both go to wide open power at the same time. The Centurion takes an early lead and maintains it for the next mile. It's a clean sweep for the modernized Centurion. Okay, has this contest changed the hearts and minds of any Bonanza or Centurion pilots about which is the superior airplane? I didn't think so. Dave Hirschman, AOPA Live.
Thanks, Dave. You can read more about the fly-off in the December issue of AOPA Pilot Magazine. Now, Melissa, in defense of my Bonanza, I have to point out that this particular 210 originally had a 520 in it, and then they upgraded to an IO550 with 310 horsepower, 10 more than the IO550B that's in my Bonanza. So I got to say, horsepower is everything, right? Well, almost everything. Drag may play a role there too. Just saying, though.
Okay, well, we'll give you that point.
All right, thanks.
And finally this week, many of you will be shopping for your Christmas trees this weekend. But did you know that the tree you have may have come to you thanks to General Aviation? Paul Harrop explains why.
It's harvest time on Noble Mountain. A flurry of work fills slope and sky. The air fresh with the scent of fir trees and turbine exhaust. The sounds of hard work and chopper blades are deafening. Men gather cut trees and pile them together so they can be lifted up on slings and taken to your living room by way of the Central Oregon skies. The steep terrain makes it impossible to harvest these trees any other way.
We have some very challenging terrain up here.
60% slopes get slick with mud. The farm goes on as far as the eye can see.
This farm is an extremely large farm. It's about 2 miles long.
For Bob Schaefer and his staff at the Noble Mountain Tree Farm, helicopters are the only way to get the job done.
We have high expectations of our pilots. We want good production pilots. We're working literally 7 days a week, daylight to dark.
It's an all-day effort, and it's anything but routine. On a perfect run, the helicopter is in constant motion. The pilot slinging the hook to a man on the ground, who latches the bundle and then gets out of the way. It's one constant torque turn in a dance between the field and the truck. This mountain may be scenic, but it's anything but a joyride.
You're no longer flying the aircraft, you're flying the hook.
Ty Burlingham is the chief pilot for Precision Helicopters. He's leaning out the door of this Bell Jet Ranger, waging war on the wood below with Cyclic and Collective.
So as soon as you come off the truck, your head goes out into the field, trying to find your hook tender. When the fields are clear-cut like the one we've been in today, it's a lot easier. You're looking for the high-vis vest and just head right toward them. After that, you want to get an idea of where your hook's at. So is it swinging behind you? Is it left or right? And you want to kind of get the hook centered underneath the aircraft before you decelerate into the hook tender. And then once you start your deceleration, you're kind of steering the hook right to his hand. At least that's the goal.
The motion continues to a waiting truck. They may look big, but it's not an easy target.
As a couple pilots have said who've just begun, it's like trying to, fly into a postage stamp.
Not only do these pilots have to be precise, they need to be fast. Every second the helicopter is flying costs the farm about 24 cents. So yes, they measure it in seconds. They expect each chopper to pull between 6,000 and 10,000 trees every day.
Each load is between 6 and 15 trees, targeting 600 pounds of festive fir per 20-second haul.
Helicopters have the capacity to lift more, but it's more efficient to have 500 or 600 pounds where they can move quickly rather than having to fight the helicopter to stay in the air.
It's a delicate balance, requiring unique utility flying skills. But the labor is rewarded with smiles of strangers the pilots never even get to see.
It's fun to think about how many thousands of families we touch with this aircraft every year.
It's extremely gratifying to grow Christmas trees. Our first year in business, we developed a tag, and it said, "This tree was grown expressly to bring the joy of Christmas into your home." And that's our philosophy.
A joy of Christmas with beautiful trees, slugged by skilled pilots. In the Eola Hills near Salem, Oregon, Paul Hero, AOPA Live.
And you can read more about it in the December issue of AOPA Pilot. I find that mesmerizing to watch the helicopter work like that and that many trees in a day.
Yeah, and that piloting skill, getting the hook all in the right places and using the momentum and all that sort of thing. Pretty amazing what they do. Well, hey, that's going to do it for us this week. I'll be off the next 2 weeks. Warren will sit in for me.
We hope you have a happy and safe Thanksgiving, and we hope to see you back here next Thursday for another edition of AOPA Live This Week. Yeah.
Purchasing your own aircraft is an exciting experience. AOPA Finance simplifies the process, saving you money with lower interest rates and hassle-free loans, so you get into your new aircraft sooner. AOPA Finance, the right approach to buying an aircraft.